guys, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do another video in the Biblical Womanhood Proverbs 31 Woman series. So I've got my Bible and my coffee, and we're gonna have a coffee and a chat. So this week I want to talk about biblical womanhood and service and the verses in Proverbs 31 that kind of exemplify what that looks like or how the Proverbs 31 woman lives that out. Okay, so going through Proverbs 31, there are a lot of things that she does that we don't do nowadays. I mean, we don't make our own clothes anymore. You can, but the likelihood is it's going to be a few pieces, not your entire wardrobe. We don't usually make as much from scratch as she would have. We don't have to grow our own garden to have food. We have a lot more appliances for stuff, and that doesn't mean there aren't certain things that we do in that same way also. I mean, I know I do dishes by hand at times. I would love to bake my own bread. I would love to have a little garden with certain things in it that it would be really nice to be able to grow myself. But that's not going to be our whole way of life, at least not for me. So I feel like the biggest way of applying Proverbs 31 is to apply that to the work we do have now. So it's still making meals. It's still, if you're trying to feed your family healthy food, it takes way more time in the kitchen and way more work. You have to plan your meals out, you have to plan your grocery shopping and make sure you have a list of everything you need. You have to find as good of deals as you can because doing all of that yourself gets very, very expensive. There is a lot of intentionality that goes into that. And it's a huge servicehood when it takes up so much of your time, so much of yourself, like just in your energy and in your mindset. It's very challenging. It's really challenging work. You know, it really pushes your skills on how to do those things, and that's great. And I think the heart of it is really embracing what that work is, whatever that work is. So it's having a servant mindset in whatever you're doing, whether you are stay at home, whether you're homeschooling, whether you are working from home and trying to manage your household, whether you are working outside the home and trying to manage a household. There are so many different variations that the work you are going to be embracing and the way you can be a servant is going to be unique to you. And that's a really fun thing to be able to embrace. And I think that's also where it becomes really important to know what God's calling you to, like I talked about before. That has been something that I have really been wrestling with and thinking about, has been, what is God calling me to in this? What is his purpose for some of the things he's brought me through? What is he really wanting me to do? And what work is he calling me to? And either way, I know it's going to be something that requires a servant attitude and requires diligence and intentionality and really being open to learning and being challenged. So, opening to Proverbs 31, She talks about, in verse 13, it talks about she seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it. From her profits she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. And then it goes down to say she makes linen garments and sells them, verse 24, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. And then later down again in verse 28, it says, her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. I think the greatest summation of all of that is a bunch of different examples of her being a servant, not only in just her lifestyle and the work she's doing, whether it's business type stuff where she's buying fields, she's making merchandise to sell. She's basically running an import-export business, and all out of her house while making all of her own food, while growing some of her food. It says that she considers a field and buys it, and from her profits she plants a vineyard. So she is really, really super intentional and diligent with her more businessy type stuff, and it talks about her being a servant within her family and taking care of her family. It says she gets up not only to make food for her household, but for her maidservants. And so obviously she treats them just as well and is a servant leadership in that way. And I love that. I think that's so inspirational for even the work we do today. You know, it's important to not forget what our purpose is. And I think the biggest thing I gain from that is that really the whole point is working for God and being a servant of the Lord in whatever he has us doing, in whatever he calls us to. You can be a missionary at your corporate job. You really, really can. I have seen it. You can be a missionary, quote unquote, in almost any situation he calls you to, because all being a missionary is being that example of a servant to the Lord and letting that speak to the people around you. The verse that talks about her children and her husband praised and blessed her isn't because she asked them to, isn't because she was doing the work to get that applause and those accolades. It was because she was working as if she was working for God, because she was working for God. And that bore pretty amazing fruit. So that's what I take from it. I would love to hear what you guys take from it. I really love looking into this type of stuff. Like I said in the beginning of this series, this is stuff that I've been kind of working through and wrestling with a lot lately, especially over the last year and a half, 2 years. It was not very long after we got married that I got super interested in it. And then a little after it caught my attention, I really kind of kickstarted into researching stuff and really finding out how I felt about it and having it be something way more in the forefront of my mind, and really kind of digging into these verses and these lessons and the example of Proverbs 31. It's such a hot topic, Proverbs 31, that I really wanted to understand it well so that I knew for myself what it said and what the truth within it is. And I'm really glad I did. I cannot even express the encouragement it can bring me. And, you know, there are some things that's up and down because that can be an intimidating example. But I think when you really dig into it, it's inspiration to do what you're called to be excited about what God has you doing, even while reading about what she's doing, which probably looks different than what God has called the rest of us to. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any specific things you would like to point out, or specific thoughts or questions, leave them in the comments below. I would love to have a conversation about it. And if you enjoy this series and you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with everybody. And if you were not already subscribed to my channel, click the screen and subscribe. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!